Turkey is often described as a bridge between Europe and Asia, but that phrase only hints at its importance. Most of the country lies in Anatolia, in West Asia, while a smaller region called East Thrace sits in southeastern Europe. This means Turkey is not just near several regions, it is physically connected to them. It touches the Black Sea, the Aegean, the Mediterranean, the Balkans, the Caucasus, and the Middle East. That geography has shaped nearly everything about the country, its wars, trade routes, migrations, empires, alliances, and identity. Turkey has repeatedly been a meeting point between civilizations, but also a frontier where rival powers competed. To understand Turkey, the first thing to understand is that location is not background detail. It is the central force behind its history and modern strategy. Modern Turkey is home to more than 86 million people, making it one of the major population centers of its wider region. Most citizens are ethnic Turks, while Kurds are the largest ethnic minority, giving the country a complex internal social and political landscape. Turkey is officially secular, a principle rooted in the founding of the republic, yet the population is mostly Muslim. That combination creates a distinctive national model, a state that was built around secular institutions, but whose society remains deeply shaped by Islamic heritage and tradition. The capital is Ankara, an inland city chosen to represent the new republic and its break from the Ottoman imperial past. Istanbul, however, is the largest city, the economic engine, and the place where Turkey's historical layers are most visible. Long before modern Turkey existed, Anatolia was one of the great crossroads of the ancient world. Humans lived there in prehistoric times, and later the region became home to peoples such as the Hattians and the Hittites. The Hittites built a powerful Bronze Age civilization, showing that Anatolia was already politically and culturally significant thousands of years ago. Later, after Alexander the Great's conquests, Greek language and culture spread widely across the region. This process, known as Hellenization, transformed cities, education, religion, and elite life. Under Roman and then Byzantine rule, Anatolia became part of a vast imperial system tied to roads, armies, trade, and Christianity. The land now called Turkey is therefore not defined by one civilization, but by many layers stacked on top of each other. A major turning point came in the 11th century, when Seljuk Turks began moving into Anatolia. This started the long process of Turkification, but it was not a simple overnight replacement of one people by another. It involved migration, warfare, settlement, conversion, intermarriage, and political change over centuries. The Seljuk Sultanate of Rum became a major Turkish Muslim power in Anatolia, ruling parts of the region until the Mongol invasion in 1243 weakened it. After that, Anatolia fragmented into smaller Turkish principalities. One of these frontier states, founded around 1299, became the Ottoman state. At the time, it was not obvious that this small principality would grow into an empire. But its location, military organization, and political flexibility gave it room to expand. The Ottoman rise changed world history. In 1453, Mehmed II conquered Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire, and turned it into the Ottoman capital. The city, now Istanbul, became a symbol of imperial power and control over the meeting point of Europe and Asia. Under rulers such as Selim I and Suleiman the Magnificent, the Ottoman Empire expanded across the Middle East, North Africa, the Balkans, and the Eastern Mediterranean. It became a global power, ruling over many ethnic groups, religions, and languages. The empire was Islamic, but also multi-ethnic and imperial, managing diversity through layered systems of law, administration, and hierarchy. For centuries, the Ottomans shaped the politics of southeastern Europe, the Arab world, and the Mediterranean, leaving a legacy still visible today. By the late 18th and 19th centuries, the Ottoman Empire faced growing pressure. European states became stronger, nationalist movements challenged imperial rule, and military defeats caused territorial losses. Ottoman leaders tried to respond with reforms, centralization, and modernization, but the empire continued to shrink. As Ottoman control retreated from regions such as the Balkans, the Caucasus, and Crimea, many Muslim communities faced violence, persecution, and displacement. Large numbers migrated into the lands that later became modern Turkey, shaping the country's population and memory of loss. The final Ottoman decades were also marked by catastrophic violence against non-Muslim communities. During World War I, the Ottoman government committed genocides against Armenian, Greek, and Assyrian subjects, an essential part of the region's painful modern history. After World War I, the defeated Ottoman Empire seemed likely to be divided by victorious powers. Instead, Turkish nationalist forces led by Mustafa Kemal Atatürk fought the Turkish War of Independence. The result was the abolition of the Sultanate, the Treaty of Lausanne, and the creation of a new state. On October 29, 1923, the Republic of Turkey was proclaimed. Atatürk's vision was radical: replace a multi-ethnic empire with a sovereign, secular, centralized nation-state. His reforms transformed law, education, language, dress, and political identity. Ankara became the capital, signaling a break from Ottoman Istanbul. The new republic aimed to be modern and independent, but it also inherited difficult questions about national identity, minorities, religion, and the role of state power in reshaping society. Turkey's 20th-century politics were shaped by a constant tension between democracy, secularism, nationalism, and military influence. The country stayed neutral during most of World War II, then moved more firmly into the Western security system during the Cold War. It joined NATO and sent forces to the Korean War, proving its value as a strategic ally. But inside Turkey, the transition to multi-party democracy was repeatedly interrupted by military interventions. The military often claimed to defend secularism and national unity, while elected governments reflected changing social and religious demands. This produced a political culture where elections mattered, but so did institutions that saw themselves as guardians of the republic. Modern Turkey's presidential system continues that debate over authority, representation, and the balance between state and society. Turkey is an upper-middle-income emerging economy and one of the largest economies in the world by both nominal and purchasing power-adjusted GDP. Its economy is diverse, with major roles for manufacturing, construction, agriculture, tourism, logistics, textiles, finance, and defense industries. Istanbul dominates as the financial and commercial center, but other cities such as Izmir, Bursa, Antalya, and Ankara also contribute to the country's economic weight. Turkey's location gives it natural advantages as a trade and transport hub between Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. It is also one of the world's major electricity producers and wants to become a key route for regional energy transportation. Still, the economy faces serious pressures, including inflation, currency volatility, and the challenge of attracting stable long-term investment. Turkey's foreign policy matters because its geography places it near several of the world's most sensitive regions. As a NATO member, Turkey has the alliance's second-largest military personnel, giving it major security importance. It controls access between the Black Sea and the Mediterranean through the Turkish Straits, a route critical for Russia, Ukraine, Europe, and global shipping. Turkey is also a founding member of the OECD, the G20, and the Organization of Turkic States, while remaining an EU candidate and part of the EU Customs Union. This gives Turkey a complicated identity, tied to the West through NATO and trade, connected to Europe through institutions, linked to the Turkic world through culture, and deeply involved in Middle Eastern and Black Sea politics. Turkey's landscape is extremely varied. Coastal plains stretch along parts of the Mediterranean, Aegean, and Black Sea, while a high central plateau dominates the interior. Farther east, the elevation rises into mountains that influence climate, settlement, and transportation. This produces a wide range of climates, from Mediterranean conditions along the southwest coast to wetter Black Sea zones, semi-arid interior regions, and colder continental areas in the east. The country also contains important biodiversity hotspots, making it ecologically rich. But its geography creates serious risks. Turkey is highly earthquake-prone because it lies along active fault systems. Major earthquakes have repeatedly shown how dangerous weak construction, urban density, and poor planning can be. Climate change adds further pressure through drought, heat, water stress, and extreme weather. Turkey's global influence is not only military or economic. It is also cultural. The country is one of the most visited destinations in the world, drawing tourists to Istanbul, Cappadocia, Antalya, ancient ruins, Ottoman monuments, beaches, mountains, and UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Turkish cuisine carries influences from Anatolia, the Balkans, the Mediterranean, the Middle East, and Central Asia, making food one of the country's strongest forms of soft power. Turkish television dramas have also become major international exports, reaching audiences across the Middle East, Latin America, Europe, and Asia. This cultural reach reinforces Turkey's broader identity, a country shaped by empires, borders, migrations, and reinvention. Its power comes from being able to operate in several worlds at once, without fully belonging to only one. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.